Hi, I'm Stacey Khizder here with political coverage for SBS News. On Wednesday night was the last and final debate of the 2016 presidential election, so there's definitely lots to talk about and to cover. Let's head to the studio so I can introduce you to some of our panelists for today. So with me, I have Yusuf from Young Americans for Liberty, and I have JT, who was the former president of Terps for Bernie and is now on the board for Our Revolution. All right, so guys, let's discuss. So let's start with kind of the hot topic from the last debate. It was obviously all centered around the tape that Trump had with Billy Bush. There's been more buzz about it, and a lot of women have come out and said that Trump either groped them or assaulted them, which he still denied at the third debate and said they're all lying. What do you guys think about this? Is this even relevant to talk about at this point? What do you think?
I mean, I think it's relevant. I have no reason to doubt them. I think it's likely that at least one of them could be telling the truth.
Yeah, I think the whole way that this issue has been pursued by Trump, Clinton, and the media has just been off the mark, kind of disgusting. I mean, Trump, for one, not owning up to it. Yeah, he's most likely, statistically, rapist or sexual assaulter. Same with Bill Clinton, but Bill Clinton is not the alibi. At the same time, we shouldn't forget that Bill Clinton has gone ahead and done this stuff, and he does need to be held accountable. But the big issue is they're going ahead, and this is the issue with rape, is it's this monster in the corner, and they say, oh, not in our locker room, but actually it is. It's around, and it's in our face, and statistically we definitely know people that are survivors, but we don't know necessarily the people. We do know probably someone that perpetrates it, and we like to separate them from ourselves, but yet there are people just like us, and they just need to be called out on that behavior and on the issue of the fact we have a culture that demeans and objectifies women.
Yeah, a lot of people, in response to that, are saying that that we should focus on the issues that matter. Is this an issue that matters, and should we focus more on it?
Well, I think character is an issue, and I think it's...
Or sexual assault.
Well, right, and it speaks to his character, if he really has sexually assaulted these women. I think character is fair game when you're talking about any political office, especially the President of the United States. I mean, for example, we could talk about, all sorts of things that Trump has done, not only with sexual assault, but also with within his own organizations, like Trump University, et cetera. Or we could talk about, the fraud or perjury that Hillary Clinton has committed. So I think that, a lot of these things are fair game.
Yeah, no, I agree that character is fair game. I think it's also one thing people got to be careful about. Character, to some extent, will predict how they govern, and it's important to have someone with good character, because corruption is such an endemic thing to higher political office. But at the same time, when we look at things such as infidelity and whatnot, I think that breaks a bit away from the policy aspects. But there should be a lot less sensationalism, more focused on the acute issues of the fact of Trump's character, Clinton's character. Both, especially both Clintons, have pervasive issues with corruption and how they've handled corporate money and
so
influence.
kind of going back to that, we saw probably, of course it was brushed on vaguely, but Trump was blaming Clinton for taking money from Saudi Arabia, and he kind of claimed her as an anti-feminist for doing that, because those countries that country is known for treating women extremely badly, not what we're used to in the United States. So is it anti-feminist? Is that worth bringing up?
Oh, it's absolutely. I think it's absolutely anti-feminist. It's absolutely worth bringing up, especially the fact that Clinton, with her foundation, has been making shady deals with foreign billionaires for the last 30 years. Her and her husband both, whether it was borderline war profiteering. I would say straight up war profiteering, or pay for play system in the foundation. The fact that she's associated herself with these criminals and these gangsters abroad, I think, does speak to her character. That's one thing that Donald Trump said that I thought deserved to be talked about.
Yeah, she didn't really give a bigger explanation as to why she's taken money from them.
Oh, she did. She immediately pivoted in the debate. If you watch it, she immediately pivoted back to Trump's comments about refugees. She didn't really, defend herself.
And that's the horrible thing about this whole thing, is Trump is such an incendiary figure that it distracts from how bad a candidate Clinton is. It makes it really hard to hold her accountable. People love to point the shiny object Trump, yet we can't go back, and there's such a long history of, you talk about war profiteering. Kosovo, Madeleine Albright, all these people in the State Department went ahead. If you look at Kosovo and the rebuilding, all these people in the Clinton administration own these massive conglomerates that have monopolized or oligopolized the Kosovo economy and making millions. And this is a pattern that you could see going well far back.
Right.
And we get these very sensational, distractionary tidbits that don't focus on a very long-term, systematic, corrupt approach by the Clintons.
Mm-hmm. And there's a reason why Clinton received more donations from the defense industry than Mitt Romney and Barack Obama combined in 2012. In 2008. And also, just given the fact that you can judge a person by the company they keep. Madeleine Albright, Henry Kissinger, war criminals basically. Even Condoleezza Rice has been reportedly giving Hillary Clinton advice. Henry Kissinger said, "Oh, she's my favorite Secretary of State that we've had." When a war criminal says that you're their favorite Secretary of State, that's definitely cause for concern.
Right. Those are some good points, you guys. So kind of shifting gears here a little bit, let's talk about immigration. It's definitely a central focus in the debates, in the whole election, and in both campaigns. Trump reconfirmed that he wanted to build a wall, that he's not taking Syrian refugees, and he also said for the first time, like comparing to the last two debates, that all drug crimes will leave the United States because drug cartels are from the Central and South Americas. But we looked up on that while we were fact-checking last night, and research shows that's just not true, and it's just not likely.
Right.
So what do you think about that?
I mean, I would say that using the wall as a justification or claiming that the wall will actually stop the inflow of drugs, I think is an absurd concept. I mean, the drug trade has been popular since the beginning of time. I don't think that. I mean, I think this is more of an issue of the war on drugs than an immigration issue.
The war on drugs is proven to be unsuccessful.
Absolutely, 100%.
And the wall is it's asinine.
It's absolutely crazy.
People don't understand how
she did
powerful
not propose, but she did defend
that
offense.
was one, and she
It's
even
still
said
asinine.
she even said that Hillary Clinton said that it might have been a wall in some areas. So I mean, when Trump said you wanted a wall too, like he was kind of right. I mean, I think that building a fence or a wall across the border is an absurd idea. I think immigration helps the economy.
And some context to how powerful the cartels are. People don't realize, like, the cartels are so sophisticated. They hire private organizations, PR firms, to run PR. They hire computer hackers. What they'll do is go into Galveston, Texas, take these really complex codes that are used for containers to ship products. They'll hack into them, put their products in, and it'll get shipped to like Rotterdam, Netherlands, where it'll be taken out and then distributed. They go ahead and they've taken like old, like sort of outdated fracking technology, and rather than building these big tunnels, what they'll do is they'll create little ones and shoot packages under the Rio Grande. The Los Zetas have set up their own radio network in their home base of operations. Like they are businesses. They are sophisticated paramilitary businesses that in many instances are more authoritative than the Mexican government and provide more government services. It's absolutely crazy that we think we're going to stop them from the wall.
Yeah.
And the refugee
There's
issues,
a lot of cartels within the United States, and that doesn't
absolutely.
stop them
it's
from
an
making their own
extension.
drugs.
It's an
Right.
extension of the cartels.
I mean, even if you magically could stop the inflow, all you would do would be like incentivize the creation of similar cartels in the United States. So it wouldn't work.
The Sinaloa cartels work quite well in the United States, and the fact that they've cultivated ties with like the Department of Drugs, Drugs Enforcement Agency, and allegedly CIA, and they've gone the U.S. and the Mexican authorities to go after all the other rival cartels, and that's why you have this massive cartel. And the refugees thing is also ridiculous, both from the Democratic and the Republican side, how they approach it. The whole rhetorical issue doesn't reflect the reality. The fact is, people become terrorists when they're over here, and then they become radicalized.
Right,
they don't
exactly.
come over radicalized. It's about them being here and their experiences here. It has nothing to do with who we're bringing over.
Right.
Yeah, so let's kind of move on to what some are considering terrorism. So Hillary brought up again that she thinks, and a lot of other agencies think, that Russia hacked into the DNC emails, hacked into other people's emails, and took some information and are using it against her to frame the results of the 2016 election. Do you agree with that?
Well, first of all, I think it's funny that now that they've been caught with the schemes that they've been planning, that they've been conducting for the past few years, that they're all of a sudden blaming the distribution of information on Assange in Russia. I mean, it's like someone getting caught cheating and saying, "Oh, you were snooping in my phone." I mean, I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's And I follow a little bit of the talk. I mean, they say there's a consensus in the intelligence community, yet no sort of hard stuff has been presented. Yeah. And that's kind of the real issues. I mean, on a national security level, yes, we should be concerned about Russian hacking, but most national security issues aren't something of big public discourse. That's behind closed doors. That's not something really necessarily worth the discourse. Well, what is worth, though, is talking about like the ethics of it, such as waterboarding, such as a surveillance state, such as signature drone strikes. But on this issue, like literally, this is stuff that in other countries would cause revolution. This is a circumvention of democracy. Like people have died for this, and they rigged it. They rigged the primary for the beginning. And this is just what we've found out in email leaks. We know it's much worse. What they've said in person, what they've said over phone.
So do you agree when Trump says that the election has been rigged?
The primary has been rigged. The general election the general elections have always somewhat been rigged. Like in 2000, Jeb Bush went ahead and had a private firm, contracted a private firm to identify 20,000 supposed felons who weren't supposed to vote. An after investigation found that 19 out of 20 had absolutely no criminal history, and these were predominantly black voters, which would have been predominantly Democrats. And so ignoring the whole 572 votes and the butterfly ballots and the third parties, Jeb Bush stole the election right there. Bullshit like that has happened. It goes uncovered. Only the BBC covered that. Our conglomerate media has not.
Yeah, I think it shouldn't be that surprising to anyone who like recognizes the power of the general establishment that they are very easily capable of rigging these sorts of elections. I don't actually think it's horrifying or dangerous to not immediately accept whatever decision they come up with. I'm not just talking about Trump here. I'm talking about anyone.
Well, I don't think Trump, when he makes these critiques, that he's making it from a very smart,
exactly.
Right. I don't think he's making critiques the way we are.
He's just trying to say like, we're gonna win. If we don't win, it's not
he's
fair.
He's a sore loser.
Yeah, he went on to say that he's not gonna accept the results even if he loses. So we'll see about that. So kind of adding on to that, who won last night?
Oh, neither. America lost. That's for sure.
So America lost.
America lost.
I mean, it depends. Do you want to talk about policy or people's perception? Either way, it sucks.
I mean, you're asking like who won the debate? Was it the fascist brown shirt or the the corporatist war profiteer? I mean, both of them were so horrible.
She did handle herself very well. She was prepared, but she did avoid some questions.
I mean, she was very like adept at circumventing the questions. I mean, she's definitely a better, a more polished speaker than he is, but that doesn't really speak to better character or better performance. In fact, I think I heard she actually accidentally talked about the nuclear response times, and that was classified information apparently that she talked about on the national stage. She said, if there's a nuclear strike, then we're going to respond within 4 minutes or something along those lines. She wasn't supposed to say last night. Yeah, she wasn't supposed to say that.
I missed that. I was fact-checking.
So yeah, I don't think anyone really won that debate.
Going into the debate, if you ask American people going into debates or coming out of it, and you ask them who they're rooting for, they're going to say heart attacks and aneurysms. People don't like this election. Yeah. And rightfully so.
These are the two most unliked candidates in U.S.
and for good reason.
They could have the only way either of them could have been elected is they ran against each other.
Exactly.
And that
if Hillary had been running against anyone else, she would have lost, and if Trump had been running against anyone else, he would have lost.
And it came out in the WikiLeaks recently, the ninth dump, that they were pushing. It's kind of like what McCaskill
Trump.
Did with Aiken.
They were afraid of Rubio. They were afraid of Rand. They wanted Trump.
So what do you expect? November 8th. It's coming up.
Oh, I mean,
who do you think will win?
I think Hillary Clinton is almost certainly going to win the election. The question is, are the Republicans going to keep the Senate and or the House?
It'll be interesting to see how the SCOTUS nominations go afterwards, because that's what everyone likes to talk about is, how important it is, and let's see who Hillary puts up. Hillary's going to put up corporate people, like even Obama himself, who got very corporate getting to the presidency, but ran, and I really would have thought had been distinct, put up Merrick Garland. Everyone talks about Citizens United. Right. Garland voted in a three-judge panel to go ahead and rather than narrow the scope of Citizens United, but maintain it. Right. I think that speaks a lot to
the only reason why Garland was considered a moderate was because whether it was a Republican in charge or a Democrat in charge, he was always pro-establishment. I mean, that's the worst kind of moderate you could be.
Yeah. All right, guys, it's just about time to wrap it up. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. There's definitely a lot more to cover until the general elections. We'll be holding a lot more interviews and panels like this. We're also working on hosting a mega debate until the general election. So for the meantime, follow our Twitter account at UMD_SBS. I'm Stacey, and thank you so much for watching.